Bridget arrived at the Spencer estate with a thin, unassuming envelope that held the future of more than one life inside. No one spoke as she stepped through the grand entryway, the autumn sun glinting off the polished marble floor. Bill stood beside Katie, his expression steely but strained, his hand locked tightly with hers. Will loomed behind them, half in shadow, eyes darting between the faces in the room. And Electra sat apart, poised but unreadable, her leg crossed at the knee, lips pressed into a taut line. Luna stood by the window, back straight, jaw clenched, watching the trees rustle but hearing none of it. Bridget didn't open the envelope. She didn't get the chance. Within minutes of her arrival, Lieutenant Baker stormed in, unannounced but not unwelcome. He held out a warrant and, with clipped authority, declared the test results to be evidence in a pending investigation. The room broke into chaos. Voices overlapped. Bill demanded answers. Katie barked legal threats. Will stepped forward, fists clenched. Luna just stared. Baker held firm. The test was tied to a new complaint, one that reopened questions about Luna's past and whether there had been falsification or fraud related to her medical files. Allegations had surfaced that cast doubt on her ability to safely care for a child. And that was enough, he said, to seize the file for review. It would be held for 24 hours. No discussion. When the door closed behind Baker, silence took over again. But it was the kind of silence that crackles with tension. No one moved. No one dared look directly at each other. Because in that envelope sat the truth. Truth about parentage. Truth about rights. Truth about legacies. And now, that truth was in limbo. And in its place grew suspicion. Bill didn't say anything at first. He walked to the bar and poured himself a drink, not offering anyone else one. Katie watched him closely, calculating. Will disappeared down the hallway without a word. Electra stood, smoothing her dress, and left with a curt nod. Luna remained by the window. But the storm had begun. That evening, Katie moved fast. She met with lawyers. She contacted journalists. She spun a narrative that centered on protecting the child, though she never used the baby's name. Not once. Her implication was clear. If Luna was found unfit, whatever that might mean, Katie and Bill would pursue custody. Not jointly. Not conditionally. Permanently. The backlash was immediate. Social media exploded with condemnation. Headlines painted her as a socialite bulldozing a struggling mother. Advocacy groups called for boycotts of Spencer publications. Activists stood outside the gates of the estate, holding signs, chanting Luna's name. In a matter of hours, Katie had gone from concerned stepmother to villainous interloper in the public eye. Bill was caught in the middle. Spencer Publications Board demanded he distance himself from the controversy. Advertisers pulled spots. Shareholders raised concerns. But at home, the pressure was worse. Will cornered him in the kitchen. Is this who we are now? Will asked, voice cold. We destroy someone's life just because we're afraid of what might be in an envelope. Bill didn't answer. Not because he didn't have one, but because every answer came with a cost. Meanwhile, Electra, ever the strategist, met privately with Bridget. Her tone was neutral, but the subtext burned. She wanted to know, hypothetically, what the results might reveal. Bridget, bound by medical ethics and legal constraints, refused to say. But Electra wasn't really asking. She was warning. If Bridget had leaned toward Luna, Electra would remember. If she leaned toward Katie, Electra would remember that too. Luna, for her part, said nothing to the press. She stayed indoors, avoided cameras, and kept her child out of sight. But inside, she was breaking. She replayed every interaction with Katie. Every sideways glance from Will. Every moment she had second-guessed herself. Could they really take her child away? And would Bill let it happen? In a rare move, Steffi Forrester gave a press statement defending Luna, calling the attacks against her unfounded, unethical, and transparently manipulative. The Forresters, sensing a larger media war, prepared for battle. Rich personally called Bill to advise him to rein in Katie, or risk losing all their shared business interests. That conversation ended with slammed phones and no resolutions. The following morning, Katie hosted a charity event. Cameras were everywhere. She wore white. She smiled. But her speech, ostensibly about women's empowerment, veered quickly into territory that felt rehearsed and biting. Being a mother is more than biology. It's responsibility. It's sacrifice. And when someone isn't ready, we have a duty to protect the child. Even when it's hard, the message was clear. And it didn't sit well. Luna showed up at the event. She didn't speak. She didn't approach the mic. She simply stood in the back, baby in arms, and stared at Katie as the room buzzed around them. It was a calculated move, silent, devastating, impossible to ignore. The image hit the news before the event ended. Luna's presence eclipsed Katie's entire speech. Public sentiment shifted again. Now Katie wasn't just fighting Luna, she was fighting a narrative she could no longer control. That night, Bill finally snapped. He walked into Katie's study and shut the door. "You made this about you," he said flatly. "Not the baby. Not Luna. Not even Will. You." Katie's defense was swift. "I'm protecting this family." "No," Bill said. "You're protecting your version of it." Katie's eyes narrowed. "Are you choosing her?" "I'm choosing truth," he said. "And if you can't live with that, maybe you don't belong in this fight." Katie left the room without another word. At 9 a.m. the next day, Baker returned with the envelope. The house was still. Everyone was there. No cameras. No PR teams. Just family, fractured, raw, waiting. He placed the envelope on the coffee table. No theatrics. No speech. He just said, "You can open it now," and left. Bridget reached for it. Her fingers trembled. She broke the seal. The room held its breath. The results confirmed it. Luna was the biological mother. The tests had been accurate. No manipulation. No deception. Nothing disqualifying. No red flags. No reason, medical, legal, or ethical, to separate her from her child. Silence. Katie turned away. Will exhaled sharply, his shoulders loosening for the first time in days. Electra closed her eyes, something unreadable passing across her face. And Bill looked at Luna. No words were spoken. None were needed. Luna held her child tighter. Later that afternoon, the press got the story. But this time, it wasn't spun. There was no PR statement. No legal posturing. Just a fact. Luna was the mother, and she was staying. Katie issued a retraction, but it landed hollow. The damage had been done, to her image, to her credibility, to her family. Bill didn't return her calls. Will moved out. And Luna? She didn't celebrate. She didn't gloat. She didn't smile for the cameras. She simply went home and put her child down for a nap. Then sat on the floor and wept. Not because she had won, but because she had almost lost everything. In the days that followed, Spencer Publications rebuilt its reputation slowly. Bill remained silent, focusing on internal affairs and keeping the press at bay. Katie took a personal retreat. Will began spending more time at the Forrester compound, where the temperature was cooler, the air less charged, but none of them forgot. Because the envelope may have closed one chapter, but it opened wounds that wouldn't heal anytime soon. And in a city where image is everything, sometimes the hardest thing to recover is trust. Finn had made up his mind long before anyone could stop him. The moment Steffi announced she was flying back from Paris with the kids, his entire focus narrowed to one mission: eliminate every threat before her plane touched down. No distractions, no delays, no negotiations. And that meant confronting the most dangerous variable still looming over them, Bill Spencer. For weeks, tension had simmered between them. Bill, enigmatic and calculating, had inserted himself deeper into the Luna situation under the pretense of concern. But Finn wasn't buying it. He saw the moves behind the mask, the power plays, the strategic silence, the carefully worded statements to the press. Every time Luna's name was mentioned in connection with custody, legacy, or scandal, Bill was in the shadows, watching, waiting, and Finn knew what that meant. Bill didn't want clarity, he wanted control. So when Finn stood outside Bill's office, unannounced, his fists clenched at his sides and his jaw tight, he wasn't there to negotiate. He came with purpose, with threat. "You're playing a dangerous game," Finn said flatly, eyes locked on Bill's. "If you think I'll stand by and watch you tear Luna apart to protect your own agenda, think again." Bill didn't flinch. "I don't play games, Doctor. I win them. That's exactly why I'm here," Finn replied. "It ends now. Whatever you've got planned, whoever you've got pulling strings, it stops before Steffi lands." But Bill didn't back down. If anything, he looked amused. "You think you're in control? You think Steffi's safety depends on you throwing threats in my direction? You're out of your depth." Finn walked out, but his warning had been delivered. And the clock was ticking. That night, well past midnight, Finn's phone rang. Blocked number. No caller ID. A voice, low, mechanical, distorted, crackled through the speaker. "If you want the truth about Luna, come alone. No cops. No phones. Warehouse district. Loading dock 17. 1 hour. And doctor? Don't be late." The line went dead. Finn didn't hesitate. He grabbed his keys, his coat, and left without a word. He didn't tell Ridge. He didn't alert Brooke or Hope. He didn't even text Steffi. He knew what this was. A trap? Maybe. But the possibility of evidence, real, physical, undeniable proof, was too important. Especially if it could dismantle whatever leverage Bill had been stockpiling. The warehouse was half lit and mostly silent. The kind of place where secrets were dumped and forgotten. Rain streaked down from a low sky, the scent of rust and gasoline thick in the air. Finn approached the dock, steps careful, hand near the concealed weapon in his coat. He wasn't just a doctor tonight, he was Steffi's shield and he was ready for war. He saw the flash drive before he saw the man. It was taped to the inside wall of a loading crate, a red LED blinking softly. Evidence. He reached for it. That's when he heard the sound. A scream. Muffled. Desperate. Someone was inside the building. He froze. The voice, female. Not Luna, but terrified. In pain. Finn's instincts warred. One part of him screamed, grab the drive and run. Take the proof. Bring it to light. Burn everything down. But the other, the doctor, the protector, the husband, knew what had to come first. He ran toward the sound. Inside, in the maze of darkened corridors and flickering industrial lights, he found her. A woman tied to a chair, bruised, blood on her temple, eyes wild with fear. And behind her, a shadow moved. Finn didn't hesitate. He lunged. The fight was fast and brutal. Whoever the attacker was, they were trained, military maybe, or private security gone rogue. But Finn was faster. Fueled by adrenaline and fury, he took the man down with 2 precise strikes, disarming him and slamming him to the ground. The attacker fled, vanishing into the rain-soaked night. Finn cut the woman free. She could barely speak. She didn't know his name. But she kept repeating 2 words. Luna list Luna. He realized what had just happened. This wasn't random. She was a piece in the same game. A loose end someone tried to silence. He left the building with her in his arms. Blood soaking into his coat. The flash drive still blinking red in his pocket. By dawn, the story had shifted. Finn turned the drive over to the authorities, quietly. No press. No press conferences. But what the drive contained changed everything. Documents. Communications. A trail of digital fingerprints. All pointing to a concerted effort to frame Luna as unstable, unfit, and dangerous. Altered medical records. Fake psychological reports. Even planted witness statements. And behind it all? Not Bill. Not Katie. But someone tied to Spencer Publications' legal team, operating under plausible deniability. A rogue agent, they claimed. Someone acting without authorization. A convenient scapegoat. But Finn wasn't fooled. He confronted Bill again. This time in the open. At Spencer HQ. In front of his staff. You built the machine, Finn said coldly. You may not have pulled the trigger, but you loaded the gun. Bill didn't respond. He didn't need to. The damage had been done. And in a rare moment of vulnerability, he looked tired. You think you've won? Bill finally said. You think this ends here? You just burned bridges you'll never rebuild. I'm not here for bridges, Finn said. I'm here for truth. The press exploded again. Luna's name was cleared. The woman Finn had saved turned out to be a whistleblower. A former tech analyst at Spencer's digital division. Her testimony, paired with the evidence, forced an internal investigation. And within days, multiple resignations followed. Steffi returned to a city on fire, but safe. She embraced Finn at the airport, their reunion quiet, private. She didn't need to ask what he'd done. She could see it in his eyes. The exhaustion, the fight, the cost. Later, alone together, she whispered, I heard what happened. You risked everything. I had to, he said simply. They came for Luna. They won't stop until they're exposed. And he was right. Because while one front had closed, another had opened. Bill wasn't the type to forgive. And the web that had ensnared Luna was bigger than anyone had imagined. But for now, Finn had done what he set out to do. Neutralize the threat. Not with press releases. Not with PR. But with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. And in Los Angeles, under the bright lights of legacy and betrayal, that kind of truth always comes with a price. Oh.